Maria arrived in Seriaya on a gray Monday afternoon, the sky heavy with the promise of rain. The ancestral Bahay na Bato loomed at the end of a cracked concrete driveway, flanked by two ancient bolete trees whose thick, rope-like roots had begun to swallow the stone walls. The air smelled of wet earth, decaying leaves, and something faintly sweet, like rotting flowers. Mang Tomas, the old caretaker, waited by the gate. His eyes were cloudy, his hands trembled as he handed her the heavy iron key. Huwag kong magi sa pag gabi, he whispered. At kapag may tumawag sa pangalan mo. Huwag kong sasagot. Lalo na sa ilaliming bahay. Maria forced a smile. Opo. I'll be fine. That first night, the house was silent except for the creaking of old wood and the distant rustle of bamboo. She slept in the master bedroom on the second floor, the same room where her grandmother had died peacefully in her sleep 3 months earlier. She woke up. She didn't know why. There was no sound. No nightmare. Just a sudden, suffocating feeling that she was being watched. She lay perfectly still, heart hammering, listening. Then, very faintly, from somewhere beneath the floorboards, came a soft sigh. Maria. She told herself it was the wind. Or her imagination. She pulled the blanket over her head and forced herself back to sleep. The second and third nights were worse. The whispers grew clearer. Sometimes they came from the silong, the dark space under the house. Sometimes from inside the walls. Always her name, spoken with aching tenderness, as if by a lover who had waited years. On the fourth night, she found the first footprint. It was in the dust of the unused comedor. A single bare foot, larger than hers, with long toes. The print was wet. She followed the trail with her flashlight. The prints led to the old mirror in the sala, then simply stopped, as if whoever made them had simply vanished into the glass. That night, she dreamed she was standing barefoot in the bamboo grove wearing her grandmother's old wedding turno. The tall man appeared again, devastatingly handsome, skin like moonlight, eyes completely black. He caressed her cheek with fingers that felt too cold. You are the seventh, he murmured against her ear. The last payment. She woke up with dirt on her feet and leaves in her hair. The front door was wide open. On the fifth night, the power flickered. Maria was in the kitchen heating water when every bulb in the house dimmed at once. In that half-second of near darkness, she saw them, tall, graceful silhouettes standing motionless in the hallway, watching her. When the lights returned, they were gone. She tried calling her mother. The line crackled with static, but she could still hear her. Anak. Her mother's voice sounded far away. Don't fight it. Your Lola made a promise. The Encanto protected our family for generations. Every seventh daughter. The call dropped. Maria ran upstairs, locked herself in the bedroom, and pushed the heavy aparador against the door. She sat on the bed with a kitchen knife in her lap, eyes wide open until dawn. She never slept. The sixth night was the cruelest. She packed her bags at dusk and waited by the gate for a taxi she had called earlier. The driver said he was 15 minutes away. The taxi still hadn't arrived. Then the house lights began turning on one by one. First the sala. Then the kitchen. Then the bedrooms. She watched from the driveway as shadows moved behind the Kapai's windows, dancing slowly, gracefully, to music only they could hear. A soft voice floated across the yard, directly into her ear, though no one was near her. Maria. Halika na. Sixth night na. Bukas, akin ka na. She ran back inside, terrified but unable to stop herself. In the sala, the antique mirror now had no cracks. Her reflection stared back at her, but its eyes were completely black. The reflection smiled slowly even though Maria's face remained frozen in fear. She smashed the mirror again. This time, the glass exploded outward, cutting her arms. Among the shards on the floor was a single white sampaguita flower, fresh and impossibly perfect. The knocking started. It began under the bed. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Then it moved to the closet. Then the ceiling. Then the walls. The entire room vibrated with the sound. The knock synchronized with her heartbeat. She could hear breathing now. Slow. Patient. right outside the bedroom door. The knob turned. Maria backed into the corner, knife shaking in her hand. The aparador slid forward inch by inch, scraping across the floor as if pushed by invisible hands. A long, pale finger slipped through the gap in the doorway, feeling the air like a blind man searching for something precious. Maria. The voice was directly behind her now, though she was facing the door. Look at me. She refused. At exactly midnight, every clock in the house stopped. The front door opened by itself with a long, mournful creak. Maria ran. She sprinted through the bamboo grove, branches slashing her face and arms. Behind her, she heard no running footsteps, only the calm, unhurried sound of bare feet walking on dry leaves. Yet no matter how fast she ran, the footsteps never fell behind. She tripped over a thick root and fell hard near the largest bolete tree. When she looked up, he was already there. The engkantos stood before the ancient tree, towering and regal. His barong Tagalog moved as though underwater. His feet hovered several inches above the ground. Where he stood, the roots of the bolete slowly uncoiled and reached toward Maria like hungry fingers. You cannot run from what your blood owes, he said gently, almost sadly. 7 nights. 7 generations. Your grandmother promised the 7th daughter. And here you are. Maria's body grew heavy. A strange, seductive calm tried to wrap itself around her mind. She felt her hand lifting on its own, reaching for him. With the last of her strength, she grabbed the small pouch of tawad salt and dried tanglad from her pocket and hurled it at his chest. The engkanto shrieked, an inhuman, piercing sound that shook the trees. His perfect skin bubbled and burned where the salt touched. The roots thrashed wildly, one of them wrapping around Maria's ankle. She screamed, kicking and slashing with the kitchen knife until she broke free. She ran toward the main road, bloodied and sobbing, never looking back. The next morning, a farmer found her unconscious on the roadside. 3 weeks later, Maria received news that the ancestral house had burned to the ground on the 7th night after her escape. Investigators called it an electrical fire. But inside the sealed envelope from the lawyer was one surviving photograph. It showed her grandmother on her wedding day, radiant in her turno, standing beside a tall man in a barong. Behind them, barely visible among the roots of the bolete tree, was a little girl holding the man's hand. The little girl was smiling. It was Maria.